in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to solve trig equations by factoring, but this time we're going to be using that GCF method. All right, let's look at this example. It says 2 times sine of x times cosine of x equals square root of 2 times cosine of x. First of all, this equation does not equal 0. So that's the first thing we need to do. In order for it to equal 0, we got to get rid of everything over here on this right side. So I'm going to subtract the square root of 2 times cosine of x on both sides. Obviously, it's not like terms with the 2 times sine of x times cosine of x, so I'm just going to write it all out. All right, now that we have it equal to 0, I'm going to ask myself, will I be doing any factoring that involves bottoms up? The answer is no, because I don't see anywhere in this entire equation where a trig function is squared. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, let cosine of x be x and sine of x be y. So I'm going to replace these trig functions with the variables x and y. When I do that, it'll look like this. So now I'm going to ask myself, what do both of them have in common? Yep, they both have an x in common that's multiplied to them. So I can use the GCF factoring method. I can take out that common factor of x and write what I have left over. Now, to figure out what I'm going to have left over, I'm simply just dividing each one of these by x, which is the GCF. When I do that, over here, I'm left with 2y. And then over here, I'm just left with negative square root of 2. So now that I factor them out using GCF, I can set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve for the variable. So I have x equal to 0 because that's the GCF. All right. Then everything in parentheses, 2y minus square root of 2 equal to 0. There's nothing I can really do with the x equals 0, but I can solve for y. I can isolate that variable. First thing I'll have to do is add square root of 2 to both sides. And now I have 2y equals square root of 2. And then I'll divide both sides by 2 so I can get y by itself. So now I have y equals square root of 2 over 2. So let's go back. Remember, we assigned x to be cosine x. So over here where it says x equals 0, I'll just change it back to cosine of x equals 0. And then over here where I have y equals square root of 2 over 2, I'll change it back to sine of x equals square root of 2 over 2. Now I can solve for the variable of x by finding the inverse. So I'll have cosine inverse, or inverse of cosine of 1, I'm of 0. And I'll have sine inverse of square root of 2 over 2. Then I'll go to my handy dandy calculator. Make sure that I'm in degree mode. And when I type in cosine inverse of 0, it's going to equal 90 degrees. And when I type in the sine inverse of square root of 2 over 2, it's going to equal 45 degrees. And that's it.